Well, there I am. Conker the king. King of all the land. Who'd have thought that? But how did I come to this, I hear you say? And who are those strange fellows that surround my throne? I hear you also say. Well, it's a long story. Come closer, and I'll tell you. It all started yesterday. And what a day that was. It's what I call a bad fur day.
Okay, so it's very simple. Before you start talking, just take a drink.
Before you say anything?
Yeah, before you get up to, it's your turn to speak. Because podcast, it goes person. So before it's your person time to speak, just take a drink.
Okay. What does everyone have here?
I have peach vodka and dragonberry Bacardi.
See, I want to drink that.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to drink that.
I have coconut vodka too, but it's for mixing with Sprite.
That's nice. Sarah, should we make it a rule to drink during every podcast? Because I want to do that now.
I'm down with that.
Yes, good, thank you.
Okay.
Alright, let's start the show. Bidcast number... I always forget the number.
12,
What number are we at?
I think.
Yep.
12?
Let me check. Wait.
Please check. It's already getting to me.
It is 11.
11. Oh, right, okay, yeah, the last one was 10, which means we can be on iTunes now, except
Yay.
we're not on iTunes yet because you need a logo and a banner, and I keep forgetting to do that. Actually, I've asked Eric to do one for us, so waiting on that anytime now. Sierra, you're back. Well, you should be here because you are the co-host, so thank you for not giving up yet.
Sure.
And, who do we have here? I have Nick and Ryan. Ryan, introduce yourself first.
Hi, I'm Ryan, and this is my
What
first
do you-
podcast, so wish me luck.
Of all time?
First on this one, second of all time.
Awesome. And Nick, what's up?
Not too much. Just again, my first time on this podcast, but second time. Last
Who has
one was
listened?
with Brian as well.
Oh, yeah, you and Nick, you and Ryan and Peter are working on something.
Yep.
Yes, that should be out shortly. I don't want to put pressure on Peter, so I'm not going to say a date. But it'll be out within 2 weeks. Peter.
Do I name any
make sure
names? Peter.
Yeah. And we're all drinking, of course. There's a reason for that. We'll get to that in a moment. Here's what we want to talk about. Of course, we always have the top 10 at the beginning. And then 2 big reviews from the past, week and a half, past 2 weeks. We have Nick. You're going to talk about Quantum Break.
Yes, sir.
I'm actually excited to hear about that because there's been a pretty mixed reaction online.
I can understand that.
And we had a whole week dedicated to what game, Ryan?
Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3. I don't know, if you guys listen to this and you've been to the site, you've seen Dark Souls content every single day, which was kind of ridiculous that we got that done. It's fun. I always love doing that. And Nick,
Very quality stuff.
awesome. And I want Nick to, I want Ryan to talk about his Dark Souls 3 review, which it should be out by the time this podcast goes out.
It is forthcoming.
Do you have an idea of what score you're going to give it?
Out of 100?
I guess save it. We'll talk about it when we get.
Yeah, we'll talk when we get there.
That's
It's
segment
not
2.
a negative score. I'll just say that.
Well, it shouldn't be. It's Dark Souls. But we'll get to that in segment 2.
Well, Dark Souls 2 flirted with a negative score.
I'll get to it. I want to get to that game. I'm playing Demon Souls recently. I got into the Souls theme, to the Souls mentality for the past week and a half. Playing a lot of Demon Souls for the first time. Then I'm gonna play some Souls, and then Souls 2, and then Souls 3 eventually. Okay.
My dog is meddling.
Because all animals know when you're doing something
get
important.
away.
It's I'm gonna mess with it. I know.
I know, seriously. She like crawled under my bed and came out the other side and is like stepping on all my crap. I'm drinking 70 proof right now, so
70.
get on my level. I mean, I also have butterscotch schnapps, but I don't know if I want to mix that with peach.
Let's get to the top 10 before we forget what's going on. The reason we're all drinking is the top 10.
Top 10 video game drunks, but let's not lie to ourselves. That's not why we're drinking.
Don't need an excuse.
Actually, can I just say something? I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Ryan, you came up with this idea. You had something similar to this. You wanted to do a top 10 on something related to drinking, and then I said, no, I think it should be better if we do a top 10 video game drunks.
I had alcohol and video game franchise combinations.
I think anytime you come up with an idea, it's related to drinking somehow.
I'm a school teacher. I have for junior high kids, and I have 2 kids under the age of 2, and so that's my reasoning. There you go.
This is actually an intervention for Ryan.
I'm drinking. It can't be an intervention. I'm drinking.
It's funny that we're all drinking during Ryan's intervention.
This is the opposite. You guys are like the Barney of this group here, who didn't read the Evite and brought alcohol.
Oh, it's intervention episode.
I'm just gonna call that's gonna be the name of this podcast.
Ryan's intervention.
Ryan's intervention.
I'm okay with that.
I
support
This
that
peach
decision.
vodka would be really good while playing Crash Bandicoot.
A lot of things are good with playing Crash Bandicoot.
So, top 10 video game drunks. Let's get to it, or we're never gonna finish the show.
Yep.
I haven't
It's
had
already been
anything
like
to
10
drink
minutes.
yet, so I feel guilty, but I'm also
That's-
scared.
You'll get there. Based on what you're drinking, you need to relax first before you get to it. Okay, so the top 10 video game drunks, that was written by, it was you, Nick, and Ryan, you as well, and Jeremy, who's not here tonight, but...
Are you drunk already? It's Chin Storm Stout. I'm drunk already.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a panda from World of Warcraft.
From World of
what's
I'm
Warcraft.
that
sorry, he's a
about?
Pandarian.
Pandarian? Oh, either of you two write that one? Because I can't see the top 10
No,
yet.
Jeremy. Really.
No, Jeremy wrote that one.
It was
Damn it!
Jeremy.
Can we just skip that one then? Or do you guys want to talk about it?
I've played World of Warcraft for all of 10 minutes, not because I disagree with the series, but because I just wanted to try to have a life, and I couldn't do it.
Well, basically,
I couldn't commit.
he's a brewmaster, but he's kind of like in Breaking Bad when you're not supposed to drink your own supply, but he just does it anyway.
I'm almost at the top 10. So we're done with that. We're gonna go to number 9 already. We're gonna fly by this top 10.
Yep, I wrote number 9 if you want me to go on it.
What's number 9, Ryan?
9 is Geralt of Rivia.
First of all, I haven't played The Witcher 3
Who's
yet.
that?
Yeah.
It's the main character from the Witcher franchise. There was a couple of reasons we put him down for him being a top 10 drunk. The only way that you can get your potions back after you use them is if you meditate and you consume a bottle of alcohol. So that's the only way you can re-get your healing items or your attack buffs is by, I guess, meditating and drinking. Also, there's a hilarious drunk quest within the game where if you choose, you stay up late at night with 3 of your Witcher buddies and get plastered.
Is that in the video that you posted?
Yeah, it's in the video. It's so funny.
Okay, actually, I have that. Let me
Yeah.
play a little bit of that
Yeah,
now.
it's so funny.
Come on, let's have some fun. Are we boring you? No, it's just kinda
Slow. Pretty boy's right. Listen, there's this game. Student from Oxenford taught me. Someone starts by saying, "I've never," and finishing the sentence however they want. Who's ever done that thing downs a shot. Then it's the next guy's turn.
sounds great. You start.
I've never slept with a succubus.
I love the choices right now. You can't see this, but the choices as the player you get to make either drink or skip around. So you yourself get to choose whether or not you've actually...
And the answer to that question is always yes.
Yes. Drink. Can we just go to number 8? Because I want to know what this is all about. I've played Zelda.
Alright. Yes, so, Talon. this dude's got drunk and deadbeat dad written all over him with double D's. Capital D's, not double D's, just nor the man tits. Capital D's. Because, I mean, when you meet this guy, he is passed out at the castle, delivering milk. You can't see my quotations because his audio, but just imagine them. Because, I don't know, this dude is just, he's always just real sleepy, always real lazy, and like I mentioned in my post, that his family has come to expect this. That's got just drunk dad written all over it. She's even had to devise a plan to figure out how to wake his lazy ass up every day, probably from another drunken binge. I mean, even when you go 8 years in time, the first time you meet him is in the Kakariko village that I probably mispronounced and Zelda fans are going to kill me for.
That's fine.
Whatever. You know, you meet him there, and what is he again? He is just tired and passed out. So to me, he has got drunk written all over him. And something I didn't mention in my post was Majora's Mask pretty much seals this deal. Even though that game is supposed to be a different game, in a way, it's all characters that Link remembers. And what does he remember from Talon, not Malon? The dude works at a milk bar. And, you know, that just says everything. Right there. Guys are drunk. All I'm saying.
Done.
So this is like Clockwork Orange type of milk bar?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
He also looks like Mario.
He does look like Mario. And Mario's got his own fair share of issues. But that's a whole other podcast.
Oh god, it's so strong.
Oh, already drinking? Perfect.
My dog just looked at me like, what could you possibly want from me?
As he should.
Sorry. She's just staring at me now. I feel really uncomfortable.
Number 8.
That was number 8.
That was number 8.
I'm not drinking that much.
Yeah, wait, who is intervention really for?
Right? That's true.
I'm the host.
Secret intervention.
Alright, number 7.
Number 7 was me. It was the character Irish from the amazing Red Dead Redemption, which is getting another game. The map got leaked.
What?
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's on the site.
You think it's legit?
Amazing.
You think it's legit? I've looked at it. I've got questions about it. I mean, I've never known Rockstar to, have a map, the whole map leaked this early, but you never know.
I don't know. It fits. There's places from the first game in it, and reportedly a developer who's left Rockstar confirmed it. I read somewhere.
I mean, it looks...
It's always that sketchy employee that, has a vendetta against the company because they fired them or something. They're like, oh, I'm going to leak all this stuff, and it's, never really true, though.
Well, I hope it's true.
Right? Because
we all hope
the
it's
map
true.
The sequel
true,
is
I just
confirmed.
want the sequel. Yeah, I just want the sequel. It's been too long.
Yeah.
I think it's
way
leaning...
better than GTA 5. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a prequel, though, truthfully.
With him when he's when he's running with his gang.
Makes the most sense logically.
Yes,
That would be really
I agree.
cool.
I would be totally down for that.
But anyway, I put Irish as the character for a drunk person because he's literally drunk the entire game. He's your stereotypical drunk Irish. The first time you see him, he's being interrogated for stealing from his gang, and he's drunkenly protesting not. Later, you find him hitting on nuns.
Of
That's
course.
hilarious. I mean, basically, all the missions with him, he drunkenly screws things up. Marston sighs, says something sarcastic, and then murders everyone so it gets fixed.
Yes.
We would all do the same.
Yeah, I was really mad he didn't appear in the DLC.
I never played
the
the
zombie
DLC,
one.
You ever
actually.
played Undead Nightmare? Oh man.
No, I never got
Missing
to it.
out. That is one of the funnest
It's a lot of
zombie
fun.
things just because the Wild West gives it enough of a twist to feel new.
Look, I want to play it, but how many video games are out there? A lot, and I try to play all of them, so...
Understandable.
Eventually, some are going to slip through the cracks, but...
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I bought
and
the
it's a
DLC.
long game.
Yeah, I have it. I
Very
could
long.
get to it, so...
Speaking of horsemen, Four
Yes.
Horsemen is a really
Me
good
neither.
shot if you want to get super wasted.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know
Horsemen
about
of
that
the
either.
Apocalypse. It's let me just tell you what's exactly in it, because the last time I had one of those, I remember nothing after that. It was a mistake.
Wow.
Yeah, I had already taken a bunch of shots before that, and I was totally fine. And my friends and I, we had a DD that night, and we were bar crawling on Halloween. and we were like, you know what? We're not quite drunk enough after like 8 shots. Let's do this thing. And then it was a really bad idea. But it's Irish whiskey, Tennessee whiskey, bourbon, and Scotch.
Again, I ask, who is this intervention for?
Puts hair on your chest. Puts hair on your chest.
Can I play a clip of the Irish dude?
Yeah, go for it. It's hilarious.
These horses look fresher and healthy.
Before you degrade these poor fools any further, tell me where I'm headed.
Yes, boyo, you messed up properly this time, didn't you? You little paddy bastard. You thieving Nick cunt. You got it all wrong, Wes. All wrong. It was French, I promise. He said he was going to rip you off. Now he's ripping me off.
I can't tell the difference between drunk and just Irish. Just a regular Irish person
I
who's
guess
not
that's
drunk
the point.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Number 6, is Sanguine from the Scroll series.
That was Jeremy.
That was Jeremy, and he's not here.
Yeah, I
Do
can
you guys
help
know
you out,
about
though.
this?
Satan.
Now,
Yeah, it does look
Sanguine is like the god of drink, essentially, in Elder Scrolls. He appears in Oblivion for a while. In Skyrim, he'll randomly appear at a bar. So if you walk into a tavern, he'll randomly appear there. And then he'll ask if you want to play a drinking game with him. And if you do play a drinking game with him, you wake up, like, naked in a temple. And then the priest is like ticked off at you for breaking all the statues or something. And then you have to follow the quest line of all of your blackout endeavors. And you either have to pay for it or do a quest or something. And at the end, you get like transported to his realm, I think, at some point, and you get like an item for doing what he wants you to do. But it's pretty funny.
I've played all of Skyrim. I have all the achievements. I think I have all the achievements.
I
I don't
think you've
think
probably
I
done it
remember.
at that point.
I'm assuming if that's a quest.
That's the unfortunate thing about the achievements in that game. It actually does not take you to a good portion of all the side quests. You could probably get 1,000 in that game without really playing a good chunk.
Yeah,
of it.
Same
thing with Oblivion.
So much of that game is just random happenings.
Yep.
Took me like
I get way more lost in just doing random things that have nothing to do with the main storyline than just doing side quests. Same thing with Fallout.
It took me like 3 hours to make a character in Skyrim, and that's all I've played of it.
Creating the character.
That's a commitment,
Yeah.
though. I get stuck in those character creation menus too. Just like it's got to look just right for who? Just
Yep.
me, really. But
And
it's
then,
got to be good,
as soon as you put on a helmet, you never see their face again.
right? Yeah.
Number
All that matters is that
5.
Paul.
Yes. Number 5, Michael DeSanta. Yeah, that was his last name. I forgot. From GTA 5. Was he a drunk? I remember him drinking at the beginning of the game, and I've seen him.
Well, he's a drunk, and he's also just kind of a piece of garbage, really, all around. But yeah, I mean, he's a drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
Like Paul.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank
man.
you.
Aw.
That's rough. It's pretty real.
I'm kidding.
That took a dark
Right?
turn.
It did. It escalated quickly. This was Jeremy's, but I mean, I can describe Michael. I played enough GTA 5, and I mean, I wouldn't say
Yes,
there's
definitely.
a ton of him drinking, but optionally, if you go out drinking with Franklin or Trevor or whatever, there's a lot of funny dialogue that you can hear from Michael, and the guy's clearly got some problems that he just tries to drink away most of the time. Yeah.
Well, that's better than his therapist.
Yeah, his therapist was terrible, who just inevitably just like, I'm gonna sell you out, and then you got that option to kill him or not. Like, that's not an option. Of course I'm gonna kill him. It's GTA.
Oh, I straight up
I murdered him
him
so hard. Yeah, I planted C4 on his car.
He charges you so
shot his
much money,
corpse.
and he gives like the worst advice.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't kill him.
No, if you do it, you could probably kill
And
him.
I stole his car. It was a pretty nice car. I think it was a Comet. I liked
Yep.
it.
It was worth it. Well, we paid for that car.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So we had
Oh,
every
yeah,
right
true.
to that car. That piece of shit.
I was just getting a refund with bullets.
Let me play a clip from Michael too, because I have that too. Oh, actually, I love this clip. I remember this.
Em, you sure you ain't following me around? Should we go get something to drink?
And then
Absolutely. Cool. Oh, man.
I am drunk as fuck.
I hear you, man. How fucking drunk?
Oh, God, my stomach hurts. My kidneys hurt. My eyes hurt. I can't feel.
Franklin's drunk here too.
I don't like myself very much.
Alright, this shit ain't fun at all. Shut up, man. Stop moaning. Shit, you're giving me a headache. I gotta stop drinking. Maybe I should go to meetings. Yeah, you should go.
That
Person
is just
screaming in the background.
that is just drunk driving.
Yeah, that's GTA in a nutshell. I still got to give it to Nico though, and his yellow car.
I love that.
That was good stuff. I love that.
The best
good number.
for GTA 4 really quickly was when you went on the date with that super religious girl, like the one you kind of marry, and then if you both get drunk, the dialogue between you two is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you should have told me that. I could have found a clip of that.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
All right, can we go to number 4? Boraicho, that's the one that I thought of when I mentioned the top 10 that you guys should do. That's the first drunk that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely that completely explains his character. That's his whole thing, is just being a drunk slob. But fortunately, the reason I mentioned his Mortal Kombat X version compared to his, I think it was Deadly Alliance version, was, I mean, he's definitely still a drunk, but it definitely plays more into his actual character and his play style, as opposed to just randomly barfing on people, which he still does, but he kicks ass. I will totally say that his character in Mortal Kombat X is pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's got the cool Drunken Master.
And you get to drink. Yeah, he's got the Drunken Master stuff going on, and, you know, he farts and stuns you, which is just ridiculous, but it leads to some pretty good combos, so...
I think he was first introduced in Deadly Alliance, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah. He is Liu Kang's trainer.
Yes, yeah. Liu Kang? No, I think it was Liu Kang or Kung Lao.
Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
Yeah, both. I love Boraicho. Also, if you speak Spanish, his name, Boraicho...
Yes, it means drunk or something like that, something similar. Yep. So they were clearly in those that mindset to... One of those just funny little Mortal Kombat inside jokes.
Cool. I love the clip that I have here for Boraicho too.
Is something wrong? I'm seeing double.
Double.
You're drunk. Go back to sleep. What are you doing? I protect Outworld. Protect yourself.
I love right here, he's talking to a xenomorph from Alien.
It sounds like Miyagi, but just took a very dark turn in his life.
Right? I'll totally agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Drunk fat Miyagi. Of this world.
Drunk fat Miyagi. Actually, one of my uncles who lives in New York, he used to drive as a taxi driver, and he gave Mr. Miyagi a drive home.
No way. That's
awesome. He just gave him a ride. That's like one of his favorite stories that he tells everybody.
Story. Even if he was just like the rudest person on the planet, it's like, yeah, I drove around Mr. Miyagi, and he totally caught flies in the backseat, and he was awesome. And now I'm a karate champion. I'm the best around. So
those are the kind of questions that I would ask him. Like, it's Mr. Miyagi, and he would be like, yeah. Like, wax on, wax off, yeah, that's me.
He's awesome.
Right, that's
God rest his soul, because he is unfortunately perished amongst all the other awesome people we've lost.
He died?
Yeah, he's dead. I do believe so.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, now I'm sad.
Yeah. A lot of sad stuff.
Alright, let's get number 3. Duke Nukem.
Good God.
Good God. Don't you love Duke Nukem, Sierra?
I played it when I was really little. And I was like, hey mom, look at this fun game I have. If I shoot these naked girls, these pigs get really mad at me. And my mom was like,
bills.
You're not going to play this game ever again, so... that was a fun experience.
I never played the actual... It wasn't a remake, but it was the actual sequel that took, 20 years to be made. Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah. And as far as I know, it just ended up being a disaster in the end.
I've heard it's god-awful.
Yeah, not good at all. That's pretty mediocre.
It's too many mixed ideas. It tried to be old school and new school, and it just... biggest problem was it just couldn't be finished properly.
Now, is he a drunk, or do you just have the choice to drink a lot in the game if you want to?
I think maybe it had something to do with health refills. I could be wrong, but he's definitely down for the drink. I'll
Yeah,
say that much.
He looks like the guy who would want to do that every now and then.
Sums it up, though.
By every now and then, I mean like every day. I have a clip, but this is mainly just him drinking and burping, and that's
Right.
it.
That's his embodiment right there.
Time to put on the beer goggles.
So 80s.
I know, he's so... Jeez.
I think this is for an achievement too.
That's a real man right there.
that goes on for about 5 minutes. He's just opening cans of beer and drinking them until you get an achievement at some point. But yeah, that's pretty much Duke Nukem in a nutshell. Let's get to number 2. We're speeding up through this top 10.
Yeah. Number 2 is the one I did. It's Max Payne, the Max Payne
Oh.
franchise. And I suppose you would say he drinks for the opposite
He's
reasons.
a
of Duke
miserable,
Nukem.
miserable man. There's no other
There
way
is
to describe him
no fun in it.
at all.
Yeah,
Truthfully, he's probably the most depressing video game life story
I don't like it.
that,
I don't like that.
that you can have.
Yeah, he makes a stupid face in the first game too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, there's a video online, kids. There's a video online where somebody teaches you how to make that face, step by step. Go
That's
watch it.
hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But I really loved Max Payne 3, and I've replayed it a lot just because I'll wait till late at night when everyone's asleep, and I'll just take a bottle of alcohol, and I will try and keep up with him. And we'll just see how long I can go. I have not...
Usually about one cutscene is about the minimum.
Yeah, so I do the opening cutscene, because I always make a new profile, so I do the opening cutscene, that really long one.
Yeah.
And then it goes like, first mission, I'm okay. Second mission's a little shaky at the nightclub. Third mission, I don't remember, and then I wake up the next
By the
morning.
time you get to Jersey, it's all over.
Yeah, oh, Jersey's gone. I don't remember Jersey. Which is good, because it's New Jersey, so whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, is he a drunk, or is he technically just drinking after all the horrible stuff happened, and then it's just, or is him drinking a continuous thing of the game?
Oh, well, I mean, in the second half, he, has a reform and stops drinking, but the whole first half is every cutscene after a mission is him just getting messed up. And then passing out and being depressed.
That's not even fun.
No, it's
I
not
didn't
he pukes in a sink at one point.
That's
You get to
And
see
then, of
him
course,
go,
there's the whole
"Oh, man."
gameplay mechanic of, just abusing pills the whole
Yeah,
game.
you
Oh,
heal
bullet time.
by chugging pain
You
pills.
just gotta get health by just downing all those pills and drink.
I mean,
Great messages.
yeah, I mean, this
Thanks,
is
Rockstar.
how
Remedy.
one cutscene ends and goes to the game level. You throw up in the sink, and he goes, "Well, I guess it's time to call it quits." And he falls
That's
asleep, and then you wake up in the next mission.
That should be how you save the game.
Oh my
Right?
god!
Do I have a clip of Max Payne?
What I put
Any
in
clip
there,
will do.
I put in there the
Here.
very opening scene, which is depressing, but it's not a lot
I
of
have-
drinking.
Yeah, that's not fun to listen to. Here, I found something better.
I'm so drunk I can barely see. What it helps me get through another day. My stomach is filled with haggis and heart. I've got to go puking some head.
All right, Max Payne, everyone. It's my favorite scene from the game. All right, let's just end it here with number 1, which I love. Whoever picked this as number 1, good, great job.
It was me. I'm gonna take full credit for that because Conker T Squirrel is one of the best and unfortunately in these days underrated characters of gaming. I mean, there's nothing super special about him other than the fact that he just drinks and just loves complete and utter debauchery. And that's what was great about him because you never saw it coming on Nintendo 64 of all things.
Sorry.
It's okay, the soundboard. That's what it's for.
No, that's not even on board. I got that off YouTube. I haven't played my soundboard at all. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute.
Paul is Nick's turn.
Okay, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead. Nick.
But yeah, I mean, basically, there was no other character. I mean, the second I was given right to write on this top 10, the first pick was Conker, absolutely. I mean, that is what defines that character. This entire game is based on nothing more than getting completely and utterly sloshed, having a bad fur day, as he puts it, and getting into just
Yes.
about every misadventure you could think of, from jumping on big-breasted sunflowers to joining a Saving Private Ryan-inspired squirrel versus Teddy Nazi war. It's as ridiculous as it sounds. It's fantastic.
And
it's hilarious.
Giant opera
singing Pile of Poo, which, fun fact, was based on one of the developers actually taking a huge dump and being like, hey everybody, come check this out. And they were like, that's really gross. And he's like, yep, let's make it a video game character. You know, for kids. But it totally wasn't for kids. It was not for kids. That's the great thing. It was total. I mean, if you saw this game on TV, which I remember when they had ads, I only saw those at like past midnight on MTV, but a kid would see this and be like, oh, this is from the people who made Banjo-Kazooie. It's got the same type of graphical engine, everything, but the second you jump in, it's so for adults, and that's what was great.
It's like Duke Nukem for kids.
Oh yeah, it's Duke Nukem with the disguise of a family-friendly, furry kid adventure, but it just is not that at all.
I love that. I love that because it was like the Trojan horse on a Nintendo
Absolutely.
console.
It was one of the last games released, and
yes.
Yeah, I understand why Nintendo tried to sweep that under the rug, but it gave them real street cred.
They should embrace it.
They should.
I think the first time you ever got to see Conker was in Diddy's Kong Racing, I think.
That is true.
And he was just going to be a regular run-of-the-mill, Nintendo mascot. Just like Banjo. Right. Watch that video. But what they ended up doing with them in the end, I think was just absolutely brilliant. I think I wrote, a while back, I used to write for another website. I did the top 10, I think it was 10, but it was the best rare games of all time. And better than GoldenEye and better than Banjo-Kazooie, I think Conker is just the best game that they've ever made.
The gameplay actually goes beyond what they did with Banjo-Kazooie, because Banjo-Kazooie is a great game. It's one of my favorite games, but it completely jumped off the Mario formula.
Yeah.
Conker is absolutely its own thing.
Yeah.
It uses the movie parodies to expand the gameplay, and every chapter to the next is some different form of gameplay. You've got platforming, you've got shooting, you've got survival horror, and you've got just straight up war and the Matrix.
Yeah, there's like a lot of really cool movie references,
amazing.
Which are a little bit outdated at this point, but that's, I think, what's making
that game absolutely dates itself when you go back and play it.
And there was a really good multiplayer as well, which I spent a lot of time playing.
Yep, War in Colors, and the one with the weasels, the bank job heist. That was really fun too.
But him drinking, that's what, like you said, that's what sets off the whole game.
There's an entire segment where you just get drunk at a club and piss on people to actually solve a puzzle. I really can't think of another game that actually does that. I mean, Postal's the only game I can really think of where you piss on people, but it's just for your own leisure because you're some sort of sick, depraved pervert. But in Conker, that's game progression. You have to piss on people to get further. Genius in and of itself.
Also, the Grim Reaper in the game is the funniest.
Greg?
It's probably the funniest video game character you've ever played.
Absolutely.
You've ever seen in a game, yeah.
Cats. His hatred for cats is so good.
Yeah, play it.
That's where my emblem for my little avatar on the site, that's where that's inspired from. Greg. I love Greg. He's amazing.
Let me play a clip from Conker here. This is really all you need to hear.
I don't feel so good, Matt. You guys enjoy yourself and all that, and I'll probably see you sometime next week. I gotta go home. I'll go this way. Oh, no, that's the toilets. No, this way. Yeah, that's the bad. Too good tonight. Ooh, what is that?
And the N64 barf. Love it. Love Conker. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yes, and shout out to Chris Seaver for doing the voice for like 75% of the characters, including Conker himself. That guy made that game. And the guy who did the voice for Great Mighty Pooh.
God.
Such memorable stuff.
That song is going to take us off into the next segment.
Alright.
I don't think there's a better choice than that.
Oh,
Zara, do you know, have you heard that song?
I have not.
Oh, you should
Perfect.
play it. That's if we're gonna have like that song that breaks up thing, it should be the Great Mighty Pooh.
No, it's gonna be that. That's taking us into the second break. Let's wrap it up. We're gonna talk about Quantum Break when we come back. Dark Souls 3. Ryan, you gotta have your score ready.
All right.
And yeah, we'll be right back.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat?
Hey everybody, it's Paul here. Hope you're enjoying the show. Just want to let everybody know that we actually are on iTunes now, so be sure to find us there. Search for Bitcast on iTunes. Follow us, subscribe, give us a like, give us a good 5-star rating. Tell us why we're so awesome and why you love the show so much. And of course, you can always go to bitcultures.com for news, reviews, top 10s, features, podcasts like this one, videos, all kinds of stuff, more than I can even think of right now as I'm editing the show. So that is bitcultures.com. Find us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on, I don't know, anywhere that any kind of social media network, we're probably on it. So just look us up, Bitcultures. Now back to the show.
Now I'm really getting rather mad. You're like a niggly, tickly, shitty little tag nut. When I've knocked you out with all my bab, I'm going to take your head and ram it up my butt.
Your butt.
My butt.
Your butt.
That's right, my butt.
Ugh.
My butt. My butt.
Oh yeah. So in my work email, I got in my spam folder because I sent an application somewhere, so I'm spam checking everything, including my spam folders I never look at. Yeah. And I got an action from the an email from the Women's Leadership Association.
This is in the fridge. She probably liked it.
It says,
what did they say?
Ryan, this is the subject. Ryan, you have been selected as a female business leader. And so I clicked on it after that, and this is what it says. Empower yourself, empower others. It is my pleasure to inform you that your 2016 membership with the International Women's Leadership Association has been approved. I never applied for any of this. You were considered for this honor based on your outstanding leadership skills, commitment to your profession, and contributions to your community. Click here to register today and take your place among other remarkable women. You have earned it and you deserve it. Sincerely, then whoever sent it, Beth Johnston.
Wow.
I have 4 emails from them.
Hey.
I'm like crossing my fingers that I get this job from the weird Warhammer store.
You got it.
Nice. Warhammer's awesome.
Yeah. They're opening a games workshop near where I'm gonna live. Yeah. If I I made it past the first interview. I took the second one on Friday, and they're supposed to call me back on Wednesday either way, and I'm like, I hate that. I hate that they're going to call me either way, because I can't even get excited if my phone starts ringing, because they might just be like, no, sorry, you're not good enough. I know, seriously. It's awful. I'm like, that's all I've been thinking about for like the past 3 days. It's just...
That's awful.
It is awful. Why would they do that?
Let's get to Quantum Break.
Alright.
I don't even know what this game's about. I mean, it's supposed to mix TV shows with games and, I don't know, in time travel. I'm confused.
Alright, so, I mean, I will pretty much say I was in your same boat up until about a month before release. Not that I didn't care about the game, I just was not following it a lot, just because, mainly, I just have faith in Remedy. Remedy is one of my favorite companies, not because I think they make some of the best games, but they make unique games.
Alan Wake?
Yeah, Alan Wake, Max Payne, they have a very specific feel to them that the second you play either of those games, or any of those games, you know that it's a Remedy product, and that is something I will absolutely say about Quantum Break. It has that Remedy stamp on it. But, alright, I mean, the basic gameplay and story idea is you play as Jack Joyce, played by Sean Ashmore.
Iceman.
You have to basically fight against your rival, played by Paul Gideon? I'm terrible with names.
Mm-hmm.
But you both get time powers, and you get separated through time, and you have to outsmart each other to save time. I'm going to say time a lot as much as the game says time, because it really does, and it takes you out of the experience. But I don't know, I can't really explain this as a whole, because, again, spoilers, but also the game doesn't really sum it up at the end, and that is one of my bigger pet peeves with the game. It clearly sets up a sequel, which Alan Wake did the same thing, and I get sick of games doing that aren't really sure they're going to have a sequel, which Alan Wake still has yet to have. But, Quantum Break as a whole, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it to people who are going in expecting what the game has been advertising from the get-go, and that is exactly what you said. It is a video game that mixes live-action television with the whole experience, and it does that.
Well,
go ahead.
Explain that. I mean, do you just sit there and watch a TV episode every now and then? Is that the case?
Alright, so I would say the game is broken into 5 acts. There are 4 TV episodes separating those acts, and I would say each actual gameplay act is probably about anywhere from an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on how, well you are at the game. But the TV show always comes right at the end, and that is dependent on the choices you make. That is in between the actual act where you play as the main character, Jack Joyce, and the villain played by Paul's name is something that is escaping my memory right now. Not really important. But there's these things called junctions, and you have to make this choice that affects the rest of the game, usually character dialogue, and that's about it, unfortunately. It doesn't actually change the gameplay. But what you do there affects the TV episode that you get, which usually runs about 20 minutes. And at the end of each act, you get this episode that reflects the choice that you made. And I would say, honestly, the TV episodes, they're not anything are ever going to be, praised as the best thing on TV. But I've seen TV, like legitimate TV, that is far less entertaining than this was. The acting was pretty believable. The characters were interesting enough that I wanted to see the next episode. And more importantly, some of the things that happen in the episode reflect something that's going to happen in the next act of the game that you'll actually be playing. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature. The thing that disappointed me most was the game sort of gives you this idea that what you say or do as the villain for those junctions might actually affect how the game plays out for you as Jack Joyce, the main character. And that doesn't ever really pan out. It is generally, as far as I can tell, just dialogue choices and some slightly changed around cinematics and scenes from the TV show. And I think that was a missed opportunity, especially considering it's around time travel. I think that some of the choices you made in the game should have reflected, actual gameplay progression. It does not.
Oh, it doesn't?
I mean, I've played through probably over half of the second playthrough with the alternate choices, and the gameplay is, when the actual gameplay is there, it's exactly the same. You fight the same enemies, the same set pieces are there. It's just a couple of minor changes in dialogue, which I really felt was a missed opportunity. I mentioned in my review that they never marketed it as actually affecting the gameplay, but still, that could have really been something that could have made the game feel incredibly different as far as, I guess the gameplay is concerned. The Walking Dead games, I'll bring that up as comparison. Those choices basically affect the narrative, and I would like to see more choices actually affect the gameplay. I think that would be interesting, especially considering you yourself make these choices. I think that would be cool to make actual deterrence for your progression. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay. How does a time travel actually work in the game? Guess that's what I was interested in.
It's all basically story based as far as the actual time travel goes. You'll get to segments that take you backwards and forwards in time. The actual time powers in the game are really fun, and unfortunately you don't get to use them enough. I would say most acts are 50 to 75% story related things as far as either collectibles or cutscenes go. But the gameplay, if they had added more of it as far as the actual shooting mechanics and the platforming segments, could have been really interesting. And it's actually the exact opposite of the way I felt about Alan Wake. I felt Alan Wake should have had more story based on gameplay, or compared to gameplay, but Quantum Break suffered the opposite. It should have had either just as much or more gameplay compared to the story. The story is absolutely what drives the game, and I'm just more of a gameplay-focused person as opposed to story. The story is interesting enough to keep you going, but there's just not enough segments of the gameplay that will drive you to want to continue the experience. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm playing some games on Steam right now that are just, so much story and so little gameplay. It's just so exhausting to play them after a while, because you're just sitting there and reading and not actually playing anything. So yeah, I totally get that.
See, what's funny is I don't mind games like that, honestly.
They're good games. It's just, I don't know. It depends what you're in the mood for, really.
I would say the problem.
I guess that's true.
I would say the problem is really exacerbated by the fact that when you go through on your second playthrough to do different choices, you see how much the storyline gets in the way of the gameplay. Specifically, when I was recording my demo reel for the game to just show the actual gameplay, it takes so many times of just skipping cutscenes and dialogue that if you've seen already, you don't really want to see again. Max Payne 3 suffers from this same issue, is that the gameplay is really good, and you want to see more of that, but you have to go through all this slow stuff, which just really bums out going through a second or third or whatever amount of time.
Can you skip those 22-minute TV episodes?
Yes, they're absolutely skippable. And I would honestly say that if you don't see them, they wouldn't take away too much of the main storyline, but the actual main storyline leaves enough gaps that you'd probably want to watch them. And honestly, they're entertaining enough. They're not award-winning, but the actors that they got deliver what you'd expect of the actors' caliber for the most part. Some of the side characters aren't too great. But the main people, the Wire actors especially, do their job.
There's 2 Wire actors,
yes.
Do you get an achievement for sitting through all the episodes and watching the whole thing?
No.
Because that's the only way I would watch the whole thing.
Nope.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
no,
I'm not gonna watch.
You don't have to.
22 minutes is too long. I'm sorry. I'm playing a video game. I'm not watching a TV. You can't switch back and forth like that.
Exactly. I don't know about you guys, but like when I come home from work, I kind of, okay, now I'm gonna play video games for like 2 hours. Okay, now I'm done with that. Now I'm gonna relax and just not worry about games and just watch The Walking Dead, which I'm watching right now.
I need to get to Game of Thrones.
I can't do that. Actually, it's starting back again tonight.
Yep.
I can't
Game of
do
Thrones
that
tonight?
Yeah.
How have you not heard?
I thought it was next week. I'm so confused.
But yeah, I can't like play a game and then go back to just watching something and then go back to the game, etc. I can't do that. So I don't think I would want to do it unless I'm heavily invested in the show, which I don't think I will be. What score did you give it, Nick?
I gave it a score of 87%. Simply, it was pretty high, but I would say the story overall saved the game itself. Just, if the game had tried to present itself as a game that wasn't heavily focused on story, and it was supposed to just deliver on gameplay, it would have got probably about a 78% or 79%, 80% in my thing. But the story, I felt, was what saved it. The good thing about the live action segments is I actually didn't think it took you out of the game too much, is because it broke it up. Alan Wake kind of did the same thing, except for it was a lot more to the point about it. I guess it gave you a previously on, kind of like TV shows do. Whereas Quantum Break gives you a full TV episode and then gives you a previously on if you back out of the game and come back. I didn't think the TV shows took you out of the game too much, but more importantly, if you did decide to skip them, you wouldn't lose too much of everything. The game will sum up, even in the gameplay, it will sum up what you have missed. So, at the same time, I don't know, I feel the show, the show part of the game might have just worked better as a show. I don't necessarily see that it was necessary for the game, but it saved the game at the same point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess it lives and dies by story. But
Yeah,
in your case,
exactly.
It lived. The story was good enough.
Yeah, if there had been more gameplay, I mean, I think the gameplay is pretty solid. It's a good mixture of Max Payne and Alan Wake as far as that goes, but there just wasn't enough of it. And I mean, if you're somebody who's really into story-driven games, I mean, it's got more story to deliver than a lot of games like, again, Walking Dead and things like that, or gameplay. But if you're just going in for gameplay itself, and more importantly, if you're buying it for full price, it does not justify that. The way I could describe it is paying like $60 for a Blu-ray, and you don't really want to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about Heavy Rain, but I went through it all anyway because I got really invested in the story. Yeah, as a father, like, the loss for your kid is the worst thing possible, and that's what the game focuses around. And the chance to, like, redeem yourself and save your other kid when you couldn't save your first kid, like, really hit home. And so even though the gameplay was terrible, I stuck through to the end because I was really invested in the story.
Yeah, see, I mean, I would say Quantum Break has an interesting story, but gameplay that's good enough that you hope to see more of it, but by the time you get to the end of the game, you're like, well, I wish there had been more gameplay than story, but I don't regret seeing the story, I guess. And as far as the story goes, it really all depends on how invested you probably are in stories based around time travel. There's a lot of similarities I found in that story between the movie Primer. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but I highly recommend it. It's amazing.
Yes, I have. It used to be on
Such a
Netflix,
good
not
movie.
anymore.
It's a mixture of that and 12 Monkeys. More or less the TV show than the movie, but I don't know. It's definitely an enjoyable thing, but I don't think that they should have. The idea of the developers being spread too thin as far as gameplay and TV show goes definitely is clear as day. And as somebody who enjoys gameplay more than story, I would have preferred more gameplay than story at the end of the day.
All right. Well, play Quantum Break and also watch Primer.
Yes, absolutely watch Primer, because that movie will, if you've got a group of friends who are really into time travel and all that stuff, that will have debates until the end of time.
God, it's so good. It's probably the best time travel movie, and it's just like a really short, like homemade just movie that a couple kids made.
Yeah, it's about an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, and it's not a comedy. It's a hard movie to describe. It's a thriller type of movie as far as time travel goes, and kind of an unsettling movie.
Yeah, it's really neat
there.
indeed that a couple people made about time travel, but
fantastic.
All right. I think we can talk about Dark Souls now in general. Ryan, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm pouring myself a drink now because someone said Dark Souls.
Yeah, I think it's time. Here, I'm going to play this too while you do that. That means you're dead.
Yeah, that's we all know that sound. And you can tell that From Software's a jerk because they put it on the screen. You died. Like, I know I died. You killed me. It's like a serial killer who leaves a mark on the body.
You gotta rub that salt in the wound.
Yeah.
And I know. I should have dodged when I should have shielded, but, it happens.
One of the funniest things is that there's PC mods that can change that. The best one that I saw is that instead of saying you died, it says thanks, Obama. So
that meme will
funny.
never die. It's funny.
So
really
funny.
Yeah. That's actually really good.
Oh, it's so good. So
actually, they should change it to this. That'd be a lot better.
That would be a lot better.
Yeah, I'm glad I died.
So yes, I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls 3, and I guess my first impression was that they certainly listened to me and everyone else on my opinion on Dark Souls 2. My biggest knock on Dark Souls 2 was that it toned down the difficulty significantly. It was like holding your hand for a lot of sections. It was linear, and they gave you a lot of extra healing items and things. And the
bosses easier too.
The bosses were significantly easier, and they were all kind of the same. They're just big dudes in armor. And Dark Souls 3, it's like they listened to that and said, "Fine, you want a hard game? Here's a hard game." It combined the difficult things from Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and put them in Dark Souls 3. So if you have played Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3 would be considerably easier. In fact, your intro boss almost feels like a Bloodborne boss.
I will say the intro boss is one of the best things about that game, because when I went through the game, and because I've played through Dark Souls 1, I played Dark Souls 2 for about maybe 2 hours. But my friend, I was in chat with him the whole time, and he died on the first boss about 20 times. He's like, "This boss is ridiculous." And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. The game has no problem with telling you, this game is just going to give you hell right from the get-go. So if you don't like this, turn the game off right now. Which I thought was a genius way to provide the first boss. Because you get all close, doesn't matter what type of character you pick, you don't expect that whole evil goo transformation, and that changes the whole fight. And
exactly,
you've got to know how to handle that, and until you do, you won't make progress. And I love that. I love the fact that the game does not lie to you about what's ahead of you for the next 70-something hours.
Right, and that leads into my first major thing I noticed, that this game is heavily influenced by Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't played it, Bloodborne's the amazing PS4 exclusive that is very similar to Dark Souls, but in general the combat is much faster, and it's horror-based instead of fantasy-based. So there's horrific monsters, lots of blood. It's very...
Although the Souls series has a lot of really horrific-looking like monsters in the first place, too.
That's true, but it's also your fantasy tropes, which is like the guy in armor, castles and things. But Bloodborne, it's Lovecraftian. They're like real monsters that you have nightmares about.
That's a great way to put it. I would absolutely agree with that.
And Dark Souls 3 took that cue. So every boss has transformations now. So after a certain point, the boss will transform and become more difficult, which is both a good thing and a bad thing.
You never have enough Estus. Never.
Yeah.
You never have that second form if you're not prepared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're never prepared. You're never prepared the first time that change occurs. And then the fact the boss will either get back to its full health, which is annoying, or...
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to describe one boss sequence in a second here to explain how this works. But either when they go back to full health or they get new powers, and you've already used so much of your health to try and get to the first stage, the second stage is almost depressing. Like it is, because you're just like, I'm going to die now because I'm out of healing items and you got stronger. It's not fair.
That's not even, yeah.
It absolutely breaks your spirit.
It really does. And that's why I've had a hard time playing it, because it really does just break your spirit. Like, okay, here's one of the bosses. So the story of the game, which you get to the first cutscene, this isn't spoilers, is that there are 4 Lords of Cinder who link the flame. If you ever play any games, linking the flame makes the world happy and alive. If the flame is not linked, the world is sad and dead and depressing. Okay? So as always, the world is sad, dead, and depressing because these 4 Lords of Cinder have not linked the flame. And it's your job to, I guess, kill them, which puts them back on their throne, and then relinks the flame. Anyway, and your first one is called the Abyss Watchers. Farron and the Abyss Watchers. And here is the boss sequence. You walk into an arena, and then a big knight stands up with a long sword and a little dagger. And he starts to fight you. And at first it's okay. Like, you memorize his attacks, you dodge, hit him, he's easy to backstab, it's going fine. And then someone stabs you in the back who wasn't there earlier, and you realize a second knight has appeared. And you're like, oh, well, this is complicated. And so now it became panicky dodging because I can't fight 2 of these bastards at the same time. And I'm trying to survive and figure out. And then a third one pops up. And you're like, oh, good Lord Jesus. And then they start fighting amongst themselves, so it's kind of easier. It's like, okay. And so it ends up being you one-on-one, and the other 2 are fighting each other. You kill about 6 or 7 of these. And as you kill them, the boss's health starts to go down. At about the halfway, at one point you kill all of them. So you get the last one, you kill all of them. And you're like, okay, great, I've won now. And then a cutscene appears.
Oh, no.
Like, this isn't good. Especially if you played the Bloodborne and Bloodborne DLC, you know that cutscene does not mean the boss is over, like in the first few games. And then one of them gets up, and he has a fire sword. And the boss's health goes all the way back up top. He has more of the health, and now he has fire attacks that leave trails of fire. So if you dodge them, but then try and go behind him, the fire will damage you. And then you have to have, it's almost like a second boss fight within the boss fight. And so, while it's really satisfying when you do finally kill him, it is so frustrating finally killing him. And then there's just this feeling of depression and like a weight on your shoulders when you use all your Estus flasks to kill the little guys, but you know in the back of your mind, like, I'm not even close to winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the best way I could describe that game is just, it breaks you down. Every time you think you're good enough, you've broken through the entire, like, actual level of the stage, and then you get to the boss, you're like, I'm doing good. And then the boss is like, hey, guess what? You're not prepared for this at all. Go do something else until you are.
And again, though, even though this all sounds entirely negative, this would be a plus in the review checkmark, because the boss battles have gone back to every single boss battle as a unique original experience that you have a story about that you can tell a friend. You'll remember all of them. They're all incredibly designed. They're super creepy looking. They have great intros. And you have an amazing catharsis when you finally stab them and they no longer exist anymore. And so that, again, is a plus. And that goes back to what I put in the first Dark Souls, incredible boss battles. And if this game is being compared to the first one, because the first one is, as I put, a flawed masterpiece.
Right.
And then the second thing is the universe of the world. It's better than Dark Souls 2. It's not totally linear. Things link back to an original bonfire. But it is graphically great, but I don't think it's beautifully designed. Dark Souls, the original Dark Souls had a lot of different environments that were unique to each other. There was the green forest, for example, Darkroot Garden. There was the boggy Blight Town that everyone hated. And then there was the castle areas. But they're all kind of... Then there was the fire demon area. They're all kind of different. But in Dark Souls 3, it just seems everything is just gray and ashy.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's beautiful... The ash in it is beautiful, it's just gray and dark. And so, like, here's a gray dark castle. Here's a gray dark catacomb. Here's this garden, but the garden is mostly gray and dead. Like, it all just starts to blur together. And then here's this ice castle. But ice castle is kind of a trope, and it was in the DLC for Dark Souls 2. So that's not even that new. And so the universe just kind of feels like deja vu.
All right, that's actually a perfect segue, because I was talking to one of my friends who is like absolutely obsessed with Dark Souls, but he felt he agreed with this. Do you kind of feel like Dark Souls 3 is an expansion upon 1, as opposed to Dark Souls 2 trying to do... I mean, again, I didn't play Dark Souls too much, but I played enough of it to feel like they try to go in a different direction, but Part 3, again, they listened to a lot of fans' requests, but they felt way too compelled to give you areas from the first one or references to the first one to be like, hey, we're still the same game because we showed all these areas. You know what area I'm specifically talking about. There's a lot of sections in the game that feel like, hey, this is a throwback, so this is the same game. And this is not to take away from Dark Souls 3. I think Dark Souls 3 is an amazing game, but it feels overall more like an expansion to Dark Souls 1 than a true sequel in and of itself as far as originality goes.
You know, that's a really good idea. What I would just say is, it's almost like a Dark Souls remastered.
Yes. I mean, you've got...
It's not a DLC, but you're essentially doing the same thing, and because the lore story, it's cyclical based. You're playing like the same story every time.
Yes.
Part
I mean, even right down to the ending of the game.
Yeah, it's a cyclical nature, light or dark, and you get that from the first game where it's just there's disparity.
Yeah, and
there's always this one or the other.
I felt the progression of the game felt very similar to the first game. You got your forest sections, you've got your demon ruin sections, and then of course you've got your catacombs. Which, by the way, the catacombs in Part 3 compared to Part 1. Are horrible. I hate them. I hate the catacombs in Part 3. I would take Part 1
at least,
any day.
Yeah, here's my issue, and that ties into another thing I noticed, is that the bonfires are random.
Yep. Sometimes they're
weird.
next to each other, and then other times they're completely separated, giving you a ridiculous gap between being able to save your progress.
So yeah, for example, so in the first game they're sparse, but they're importantly placed. So you'll have an intro bonfire to the area, and then you'll have another bonfire that's near the boss or in the middle of the area.
Agreed.
Every area is like this. Okay. Dark Souls 2 had bonfires everywhere. You tripped on them. Okay. Dark Souls 3 is random. So there's some areas where I would find 4 bonfires in one area. I think the Road to Sacrifices area has 6-7 bonfires.
Yeah, and Ethereal Valley has 3 or 4 right next to each other.
Right next to each other.
That makes
it's confusing.
no sense.
You just be
and then you've got
the
one to the boss, and you've got to run through all these pontiffs to get there and hope you don't take a ton of damage. Yeah, it's really inconsistent.
Yeah, and in the catacombs, for example, there's only one bonfire really, and it's also incredibly hard to find.
Oh, I hate it.
I had to look up how to find the other one because I would lose all my health finding the boss.
Yeah, I was playing with somebody last night who ran around for about an hour. They're like, how do you even get to this bonfire? And they stumbled across it. And
I got lucky and found it. And so that's kind of not a good thing. But, again, the combat is significantly improved because, it took a lot from Bloodborne.
Aggressiveness is very faster. Apparent.
Yeah, every enemy attack is faster. And you have to be more aggressive. And the problem with that, though, is I've stopped parrying people. See, in blood parrying is where you stop their attack and it stuns them and you do massive damage.
Right.
In Bloodborne, it was a lot easier to parry because you used a gun. If you didn't parry in time, you weren't punished for it because the bullet would still stop them from attacking you. But in Dark Souls, if you miss with your shield, you get stabbed. And horribly, you get murdered. And again, in this game, one hit can kill you. And so the extra speed there kind of hurts because you're on the attack, but you're never going to try and parry because you're going to get hit probably, and you have to restart all over again.
So is the first one still the most difficult out of all 3?
I honestly have been thinking about this since I first started playing the game. I don't know. I think Dark Souls 3 is slightly more difficult because they added the transformations in there. The only boss that transforms in Dark Souls is Ornstein and Smaug, which we all voted in our top 10 was the hardest From Software boss.
Especially on New Game Plus.
Man, if you
didn't make that right decision, oh man, that boss was the worst.
Exactly.
That's in 2?
No, it's Dark Souls 1.
That's in 1.
Oh, okay.
Ornstein and Smaug it's in Anor Londo. It's a gigantic fat guy with a hammer.
Oh, yeah. The two bosses in one.
Guys, and there's a skinny dude who's really fast with a lightning spear. And once you kill one of them, the other one steals his powers and gets his full health back and has extra damage, extra health, extra everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was Ornstein that was the worst one, that if you didn't take him out right, that was a Nightmare on New Game Plus, right?
Yeah, I kept trying to intentionally kill Ornstein to get a spear because I missed him my first playthrough, but I couldn't New Game Plus Ornstein.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, dude. Speaking of, have you gone through New Game Plus on Dark Souls 3?
No.
It is significantly easier first game by far. I
that's
started
good.
New Game Plus almost the second I finished the game, and I'm already 3 bosses away from beating the game within 2 hours on New Game Plus. It's a joke. I mean, I would say if you're level 60 or 70, you're probably leveled way ahead of the game. I don't know about New Game Plus 3. I can't speak on that yet, but New Game Plus 2 is an absolute joke.
So, I want to talk about Demon Souls, because I've been playing that a lot recently. I'm actually very addicted to it. What's the main difference between the two? I've never played any of these games. I played Dark Souls 1 for about 10 minutes last year. I'm gonna go back to it after Demon Souls, but Demon Souls 1, number one, it's really fun. I'm having a lot of fun. I didn't know how I was gonna take these games. I'm doing extremely well. Like I told Nick, I didn't tell you, Ryan, but today, this morning, when I woke up, I wanted to play for a little bit. I went into one of the worlds. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a swamp stage.
Probably similar to Blight Town. I think I know where you are.
That's it. There's 3 bosses in every world. I killed all 3 today on my first try with each boss. Like, I died a few times. Like, in between, I died a few times. But when I got to each boss, I killed each on the first try. I don't know what it is, if I'm either I'm really good at the Souls games, or I just got lucky, or those bosses were easy, but I don't think all 3 in the same world would be easy. I doubt
you get into a rhythm for these games after you played them for a long time.
They are kind of rhythm games.
Yeah, and then it all becomes of you bait their attacks, and then quick attack, and bait attacks, quick attack, quick attack. And
I'm feeling really good about myself right now. I'm
you should.
hoping that I happen to be some kind of Souls master at this
bosses as a whole, those are your milestones right there. And if you're taking those dudes down with little trouble, you're doing good, man. Yeah. I mean, I can absolutely tell you that. Ryan is definitely the Dark Souls dude for the site, but from my experience of the series, if you can take bosses first try especially, you should have a smile.
I was like,
absolutely.
I have no idea what happened this morning. I don't know. Maybe because I woke up, I was just in a really good mood. Because last night it took me like 4 hours to beat another boss in a different stage. It took me 4 hours, and actually I didn't beat it. I went to sleep, then I beat him this morning, and then I went to the new stage and beat all 3 in a row. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm really good. I'm just gonna go with that. I'm just gonna say
you should just go with
that. And the thing about the series that I find is it spikes in difficulty a lot to psych you out, to make you feel like you're just not good enough. So you get to that point where you're like, oh well, I'm so done with this playthrough right now because I'm just getting annihilated. But then when you go in and you take down a boss, you feel so good. You feel so unstoppable. You're like, just bring it on.
I love. I don't know how it is in Dark Souls 1 or 2 or 3, but in Demon Souls, they if you die at a boss, you don't get to just try again. You have to kind of run all the way back.
That's exactly the way it is in the rest of the series.
That's a staple.
I assumed I would have hated that, but I actually love that part of the game because it makes you want to kind of take your time and not want to rush it. Because once you start rushing and just not being careful anymore, then you start dying before you get to the boss. At that point, you need to kind of take a break, and you know that you're doing things wrong. You're just getting frustrated.
Yeah, I'm going to do an article recently about 10 tips and tricks for new Dark Souls players, and one of them is just don't get greedy.
Dude, we should
time it right.
We should
and have your 1 or 2.
Because I had some good ideas for staying alive more in Dark
Souls.
Yeah,
we should, Nick. We'll talk about it. We should co-author that. And then my second one also then again is just do not rush. You have to have a level of patience. It's almost a step-by-step process. So step 1 is getting there with as much help as possible. Step 2 is memorizing the attack pattern and then dodging them accordingly. And then step 3 is just hitting at the correct moments. That's it. That's a 3-step path to beating every boss.
Yeah, you never want to get greedy. You want to, there are, especially Dark Souls 3, there are some bosses that have attack patterns that go on for a good 30 seconds that you have to wait to get only 1 or 2 shots in, and then you got to spend another 30 seconds dodging around. I mean, the aggression level in 3 is insane.
Yeah, this leads to my other point about 3 I was about to make, which is, and I might get a lot of get good comments in my review, but there are no easy bosses except I can think of one in Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 1 had a lot of hard bosses, but some bosses are really easy. Like the gargoyles, you can summon Solaire, and it's a piece of cake.
And if you got a lightning sword, they're done. They're done.
Yeah, exactly. The Nito battle was not very difficult. And those are just 2 off the top of my head. Dark Souls 2 had a ton of easy bosses. Like, almost too many. It wasn't any fun at one point. Dark Souls 3, I've only had 1 boss fight that I did in my first... No, 2 bosses that I did my first time. That I thought was like, this is a piece of cake. The intro boss, and then this boss called the Deacons to Deep. That was actually really easy. Every other...
Not a boss, survival.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard. It's stab the red guy. That's the whole level. But,
Yep.
Every other boss, I've had to do multiple times, and then eventually I had to break down and summon somebody so I could at least finish, work on the game to review it. And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but every boss is ridiculously difficult.
I've never summoned people so often in this game until part 3. I mean, there was at least 5 bosses that I either summoned NPCs or actual friends to beat, including the final boss, which I actually thought was going to be a cakewalk compared to the first game. Because the first game, the final boss is one of the easiest bosses in the game. 3, it's not like that.
Nope. I don't have a huge... I was kind of OP when I fought the final boss in the first Dark Souls, so I don't... I've heard some people say he's really hard, the first Dark... And again, this is all subjective. The first Dark Souls boss, some people say
that's
really
true.
hard.
How much you farm makes a big difference.
Yeah, see, my first Dark Souls playthrough, I over-farmed because of Ornstein Sma. I kept dying, and I was like, well, if I get the Artoria shield, then I can block every single attack. And I was like, well, I need to get 40 more levels to have the qualifications for that shield. And so then I did it, and then gradually I just became way overpowered, and so it was kind of a cakewalk after Ornstein Sma. This game, though, Dark Souls 3 has less, except for the Archdeacon Peak glitch that you can do for 1,000,000 souls per
I would say that's a glitch. It's definitely an exploit.
Areas.
They need to fix it, because it's kind of broken.
And it is an exploit, and they're gonna patch that.
So what's the score, Ryan?
Okay, so I pulled up my Dark Souls one and read it while I was talking. my biggest thing as I was playing is is this better than the original? How does it stack up to the original? Because that's what you judge every culmination of a trilogy by. It's the original. That's why Godfather 3 is considered a joke, because it was so bad compared to the first 2 movies. If there was no Godfather 1 and 2, Godfather 3 is not that bad. And it comes down to 1% lower than the original Dark Souls. Okay. And so it ends up with an 89. And again, with the remark that if there was no Dark Souls, it would be like a 93, 94, 95. But I have to compare it to the original one, and the universe is not as immersive and interactive because everything is gray and dark. Gray and dark. Gray and dark. And so I don't get the same sense of wonder walking into a new room that I got in the first game.
What happened between Demon Souls and Dark Souls? How come there hasn't been a Demon Souls 2? What happened in the transition?
It's rumored they're different universes.
With some odd overlaying things. Isn't patches in the first for original?
There are some overlaying things. Yes, there are some weird NPCs that are there, like Andre the Blacksmith kind of connects to the first Demon Souls, but lore-based, I don't think they're the same universe.
It's hard to explain.
But Dark Souls 1 through 3 are. Yeah, it's weird, because, I don't know, it's from software.
Alright, well, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm actually really looking forward to jumping into Dark Souls right after that. I have no idea how well I'm going to do.
You'll probably do fine. It's very similar.
Yeah, and then eventually I want to stream it, but gotta get the gear for that. That'll be fun as well.
Yeah.
I need to do that. I need to talk... I think I need to talk to Eric to get that going, because I want to do my fucking... Oop, sorry, I didn't mean to swear.
No, we curse in here. It's fine.
We're all adults who drink.
I know. That's true. I wanted to do my New Game Plus run through with Dark Souls with a...
Also, I want to get Sierra's take on Dark Souls.
I haven't played it yet.
And
Hang on, wait. Actually, let me go check. I have the second one. I'm not sure if I have the first one. I bought them for... Hold on, wait, let me actually go check.
Sure, and that's one of the good things kind of about Dark Souls. You don't have to have played the other ones to get caught up.
Yeah.
Like, because the story is essentially the same as before. It's cyclical. Like, you're in the age of light, and so therefore when there is light, everything is happy. And the game always starts when it's dark, and it's your job to either bring the light back or not bring the light back because it's corrupt. It's up to you. Based on which NPCs you listen to.
Okay, so I was wrong. I don't even have it. I have Darksiders.
That is a completely different game.
I actually got into Dark Souls because somebody described to me Darksiders actually as a Zelda for adults type of game, and I ended up downloading Dark Souls because it was the free game, and I really got into that series, and they're like, no, I meant Darksiders, really, which actually really is Zelda for adults. That's kind of what the whole basis is. But as far as Dark Souls go, if I could describe that game compared to two other games, I would say it is the Castlevania 3D game we always deserved, mixed with an M-rated Zelda as far as the exploration and all that stuff goes.
All right. Well, I mean, if you like Dark, you should. I want to see you stream Dark Souls because
everybody says that. I've gotten that request from actually so many people.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to see me rage at how hard it is.
Do it. I'll sit in the chat and help you. Just be like, don't go to the graveyards with the skeletons. Or
I kept trying to help Peter in this chat, and he wouldn't listen to it.
So should I start with one?
You should start with one.
Yes.
And I would honestly say, since I did not play Dark Souls 2, you would be missing out more on the universe and the series if you didn't play 1 as opposed to 2. Would you agree with that, Ryan?
You should play Demon Souls first.
See, I really don't like that the only version of Dark Souls that is for sale on Steam is Prepare to Die edition. I don't think I like that.
Yeah, that just means you get the DLC.
And the DLC
it doesn't make it any harder.
is generally a little bit harder, but you don't have to play it to fully experience the game. I didn't play the DLC until a long time after the first one.
No.
I mean, I've been wanting to play them. I just haven't, and for whatever reason, I thought that I had one sitting on my shelf, and I was just wrong.
Yeah. Sierra, the story part of the Souls franchise depends on you being a detective.
Right,
so if you want to know what's going on, then you have to talk to every NPC. You have to read every item description, and then you bridge the gaps that are there with your brain. Okay. If you're okay with doing that, then you should play the original one first.
All right.
If you don't want to do that, then just play the second one first because it's a lot easier and it's a good intro.
Or Demon Souls.
Or Demon. Again, they're very loosely linked though. Demon Souls and the rest of them are loosely linked.
I'm gonna play the hardest one because that's what everybody really wants.
You should probably do Dark Souls. Yeah, that is the hardest.
Yeah, play the first one. First one is absolutely the hardest one just because the intro is unforgiving, and overall the game it does not tell. Dark Souls 3 kind of tells you where to go without making it obvious. But the first one...
Yeah, it's a pretty linear path.
Am I going the right path? And the best way I can describe it is, if you can kill something, if you can kill something and it doesn't kill you in 2 hits, you're probably good to go. Probably. That's the key word,
probably not. Though. Yeah, my first playthrough in Dark... My first attempt, because I had 2 attempts where I rage quit and never played it again, and then I got bored when I was alone in my house at one point, and I actually got into the game, but... My very first attempt was in college with my roommate and I. My George from India was really into games. We really played them all together. And we got a sophomore ahead of us told us that you should play Dark Souls, but it's really, really hard. And we were like, oh, okay. So we had been drinking. It was 1 in the morning. Let's just pop Dark Souls in here. And so we made a character, and then we went through the first boss. It wasn't too hard. And then we went into Firelink. And we were like, all right, let's go this way. And we went towards where the skeletons were. And then we just kept dying to skeletons. Exactly. And we were like, well, this is ridiculous, but, I mean, it's supposed to be a hard game. And so we kept killing the skeletons, and then we went down, actually into, the catacomby area, and then
You were brave.
Yeah, and then a skull blew up, and we died for no reason. And it was 4:30 in the morning, well, this is retarded. And then we went to bed. And so, again, do not be ashamed to get hints or wiki advice for this game.
No,
it's almost
I
part
have
of
to
the
use
experience.
wiki advice for every one of them.
Yeah.
Like, if I get on a specific quest line with an NPC, I want to make sure that NPC is not going to die because I spoke too much to another NPC.
Mm-hmm.
This game is all about making sure you make the right choices. But just like in real life, you'll never know the choices until 75% into the game, and you're like, oh, this person's dead, or they hate me because I spoke too much to this other person. Yeah.
That's making me anxious.
We had a talk about that on the chat, because I told everyone I'm playing Demon's Souls for the first time. I'm just starting out, and everybody, I mean, it was Ryan. It's like, here, you should do this, and Gary was like, here, let me send you my video, like a guide as to where you should go and what you should do. I'm like, no, because I hate all that. I hate hints and tips.
I hear
and
that.
Backseat gaming is the worst. I hate it. Even if I'm doing something completely wrong,
That makes sense. It's
that's
not
fine.
I mean,
backseat, though, in the same sense.
To me, it's the same. To me, anybody telling me, no, you should kind of go this route.
Think of it like
they're already
this.
telling me how to play.
Think of it like this. It's like using a recipe to cook a dish. Okay.
That's no,
Like-
I can't. I hate any kind of advice.
You can
at all.
figure out the recipe on your own by trial and error of mixing ingredients together. But it's much more helpful and quicker if you have a kind of like recipe guide, which you can tweak with and make your own thing and add what you want. But it's a lot more helpful if you have like a general overview of how to make the meal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, most of the quests won't end specifically on one note, but if you have a general idea of, okay, you can do this, but just don't do this one thing, it's usually
Hate it.
one thing that will ruin the entire playthrough.
Already, I hate that. Anybody telling me in any way, no, you should do this, not that. That is backseat gaming. I can't stand it. I can't. It's like, to me, it's as bad as spoiling anything.
Well, again, it's not that. It's just that you should start here. Well, I mean,
the game, the basis of the game, even the messages inside the game, will basically give you a general guideline. If you listen to the messages that aren't just trolling, like, there's an illusion wall here, 90% of the time
jump.
it's fake, or jump, or finger
yeah,
pothole.
even those in Demon's Souls, like, even those,
No,
I'm like,
that's
am I
the
cheating
basis
by
of the
reading these?
game.
Because a lot of
You're
those
not,
are helpful.
no. It's part of the
like,
community.
People are helping me.
Yes, it's a huge part of it.
I'll do that. At least I'll read those. But any guides and videos, I can't.
Yeah, there are occasionally people who will just ruin your experience because that's
Trolls.
what they're out to do. But yeah, always read the messages if you can, because you can avoid something that could have been avoidable that will cost you either Estus or anything along those lines. And to me, that's one of my favorite parts about the series, is the community that takes it seriously, and it adds to... You can play single player, but
Yeah,
play
Dark
multiplayer
Souls
at the same time.
1
you
and
know?
2, I
And I
soloed
really-
without online.
I really
to
like
internet
that.
at the time. And then I redid Dark Souls 2 and then 3 and Bloodborne with internet,
Yep.
and I enjoyed it more reading the messages. I really did.
I do.
And
I
there's
love the
also-
messages. They're good.
Yeah,
stuff.
there's like that skeleton Easter egg. There's always in Dark Souls like a skeleton dead somewhere, and then there's always a message that says like bad skeleton with 100 approvals. Like little things like that make it kind of fun. And again, what part of what makes Dark Souls great is it's a community event.
Yes.
Because it's everyone
Yes.
working together to find out all the secrets within the game and put them on like website or whatever. And so every message is helpful, and every message is something. Well, most messages, are helpful, and most of these things you
Some
find.
are trolly.
And again,
absolutely.
yeah,
trolly.
anyone that says jump,
off the
anyone that
ledge.
says jump is lying. Which I learned. I
Yes.
learned the hard way. My very first Dark Souls. In the dark root, a dark root garden bonfire behind the invisible wall next to the Artorias garden. Some jerk put jump there.
Oh man!
And I did without lighting the bonfire.
Yeah, anytime I see anything that says bonfire related, I think twice, because a lot of people will say bonfire related and you'll run right into a fog gate or
Yep.
something even worse. And every time I see it, I go the opposite direction to see just what's there. Because yeah, the community is big on trolling, and you gotta find it.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? They never troll about chests.
No, those mimic chests.
There's always
those mimicry chests are serious
they
business.
find every mimic for me, and it makes it so much better because my first mimic experience was bad.
Oh, I hate those things.
They are the worst, and they are in Dark
They're the
Souls
worst
3.
they've ever been. Dude, those ninja
Yeah,
jump
they're
kicks
overpowered. It's
and
not
those
fair.
instant
it's not fair. They're overpowered.
fucking eating your character. I hate it. It has ruined so many of my playthroughs.
Yeah, and again, this ties in that friggin' Dark Souls 3 again is more of a horror game than the other two, and it's I don't like it. And here's the thing, I don't like it. It doesn't belong. The original ones were fantasy RPGs. Okay, it was focused in a fantasy universe, which doesn't usually have horror elements to it unless you're George R. R. Martin, because he's a serial killer. and then Bloodborne was a horror game. Like, enemies hid behind corners and surprised you. Monsters hid on walls and dropped down on you. But you knew that going in from trailers. It was a horror game. Then Dark Souls 3 left out the horror parts, and then you find them for yourselves and are scared shitless. I mean, Nick, you've been playing the game. Those little thrall people, the tiny ones that have like the thing band around their neck that drop down from roofs. Those little thrall people.
Yeah, they drop down from the ceilings so many times. And I mean, I've seen messages that say ambush ahead, and I'll see enemies on the ground, and then I'll go ahead, and then one of those little thrall creatures will come down from the ceiling.
Honestly, it's a lot of bullshit.
It is.
This is what I signed up for. I signed up for a fantasy RPG. Like, that's what I signed up for. I did not sign up for a horror game.
I know there are more jump scares in this game than Dead Space, for real.
Seriously, like Nick in the Road to Sacrifices area, when you're heading up to the Magic Crystal Stage boss, you know, there's that little like inlet where there's an item.
And there's like, tons of those creatures behind like the pillars.
There's like one werewolf hiding on the roof. And you walk in, you get the item, and then it just drops down behind you. Like, that's not... this is a horror game. This is a horror game.
Yeah, the game is all about just taking away your health at segments that you just really don't need that at all. There's a lot of absolutely cheap things about Dark Souls 3 that's what I defend the first one for, is the game is... People say the game is cheap, but most of the time it's... Yes, if you didn't prepare for it, that was your fault, and you can't necessarily prepare for it for the first time. But Dark Souls 3 takes that a whole nother level. Almost every new section of that game is about either a new enemy or a new ambush that you couldn't anticipate, and it's almost Mega Man levels of, well, just get back to that bonfire and restart. And I don't necessarily like that, because if I'm doing well, I shouldn't lose just simply because somebody didn't leave a message, or this is an impossible ambush that I just couldn't see coming, which I guess is the point of an ambush.
The first Dark Souls,
my point,
and Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2 were weirdly fair. Okay, you were within
weirdly
like
fair
an
would be
arena,
the best
and you had
description.
parameters. Okay, and whenever you fail is because you didn't follow those parameters, like you didn't block correctly. You failed at a backstab, you mistimed an attack. Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 shifted to, like, we're just going to put random areas that you're going to die instantly, and that's part of the experience. Good luck. So there's this whole segment of, like, you're going to walk in and die. And it's not a huge knock on the game, because, again, it's supposed to be hard, and you have to innovate to keep being hard.
Yeah,
and
I
so
agree.
It's not going to be a
that
minus
completely.
in my review.
And that's not necessarily
but it did
fun.
hurt my overall experience, because at points I'm just yelling at my TV, like, come on. Like, how am I supposed to know about this? How am I supposed to defend against this?
And they do that.
Like,
they do that a lot before boss fights
you progress
too.
so far, it feels artificial. The difficulty, it feels cheap. Like, come on now. Like, it's.
Yeah, the Cathedral of the Deep did that a lot, between the giants and the little thralls that drop down from the ceiling, and then on top of the knights that will attack you. There's so many things that are like, well, you're gonna ruin all your preparation for the boss, and then you're gonna have to come back to that bonfire and just run through
you're
everything.
Not supposed
and
to
I don't
play
necessarily
that game.
like running through
either,
everything.
At a certain point, you have to.
Yeah, that's survival horror and not fantasy necessarily.
Yeah. And you know what? It's better at horror than a lot of games. Like Evil Within wasn't actually that great at horror.
That was an action game, hands down.
Yeah, but it wasn't. E3 gameplay
totally fucking lied. Oh man, I keep cursing.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just kind of ramble.
Let's wrap it up. Let's just notice.
You mentioned Dark Souls. You opened the Pandora's box.
I don't know what the timeline is.
I'm sorry.
Actually, so I was just rambling on. We were just rambling on about our overall.
We always say an hour. We always say like an hour, and it always ends up being like closer to 2.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
where we're at.
By the way, fun fact: these podcasts are perfect for farming in Dark Souls. I listen to a good portion of these while
Yes.
just
Oh yeah,
farming.
I watch TV shows.
Good stuff.
I watch TV shows.
I mean, if you like Souls, any of the games in the Soul series, then go to bitcultures.com because we have a week's worth of articles on Souls. I don't know why
my
you would
God.
be on any other website if
And
you
if you're
like
like
them.
So-
me, and you
Yeah,
haven't
as
played
Ian
them,
mentioned,
you should-
Ryan mentioned earlier, we will
Yes.
be
Yes,
having
yeah,
a
sure.
tip or a guide on how to survive or prepare to die a little less in Dark Souls 3, because that's all you can hope for, is a little less.
Ooh, that's a good title. Don't forget that. But yeah, I am honestly so sick of this franchise. I've been writing about it so much.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
guy
still
which
gonna
I will
keep writing about
never,
it.
I will never read that article.
The point of this conversation, Paul, that we've been trying to get through, is you should read the article. It improves
I
your
might.
overall experience. It makes you part of the community.
Do you want me to tell you how your favorite movie ends?
I'm not telling you how the series ends. I'm just telling you how to improve your general movie watching experience.
I might.
It's mainly a key of survival, because at the end of the day, yes, the games are about surviving on your own, but at the same time, it's about learning how to survive through other people experiencing what you didn't.
Yeah.
Whether you do it from an online source or the in-game messages, it's all about the community being like, hey, look for that monstrosity above or below you. And that's what I really
Exactly.
love.
I mean, Paul, I'm not telling you the ending of your movie, Paul. I'm telling you how to optimize your TV to enjoy the overall movie experience.
To me, it's like if I was sitting in my chair and there's somebody behind me saying, "No, go left. No, don't do that. Go up and down. No, you did it wrong." It's like I hate that. I hate it. Any form of tip in any way. I can't do it. I can't. But I might read that.
I can totally see that. I mean, I'm like that with 90% of games, but the Dark Souls series is one of the few games where I've legitimately, felt the community helps a lot more than other games, because between the in-game messages and the wikis and all that stuff, the game is all about informing people. I mean, if you don't want to know whether there's a boss ahead, just don't read that message. We're not really trying to do that. We're just trying to provide you with a general sense of, how to survive, because the game can get frustrating if you're not prepared, and that's what we're really just trying to do, is just try to tell you how to be prepared for what is not preparable for, and that's one of the weaker spots of the series. Artificial difficulty based on you couldn't see this coming. It's the comparison between Invisible Blocks and Mega Man, really. You were never going to see that coming at all.
Exactly. And the article, the way I planned it, and we'll talk about it later, Nick, is it's going to be general tips. Like, embrace backstabbing people, because backstabbing is important.
Yes, and always have patience.
Have patience. Don't be greedy.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we were planning a wiki,
it's not gonna
but
be like,
that
take a
game
right
is
at
great.
Catacombs
For one, the
and
wiki's already
it's gonna
done,
be
because the game was out in Japan
general
for like a month.
ideas.
So, but yes, it's going to be general tips. Yeah, right? Yeah, I can't spend all... The Hitman thing's been exhausting enough. I can't do Dark Souls 3.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, we've you and me, Nick, have barely gotten that one down, and that's such a smaller game. Yeah, we need to tell Eric that's ready, by the way.
Yes, I'm uploading my current escalation modes, which there's only one that's not done because it's kind of glitchy. And I will do Showstopper tomorrow, and we'll be done with that.
Yeah, for the record, Nick did like 90% of this. I just had the idea. So I'm Steve Jobs here, stealing Wozniak's work is what's happening.
All right, sounds good. And on that note, let's wrap it up. Let's do the question of the week.
Sure. Hang on a second, I lost it.
No.
I know what it was, but I just want to pull it up for the answers. Okay. It was in honor of the anniversary of Resident Evil, and the question was, what's your favorite horror video game besides Resident Evil?
Oh boy.
Alright, well, I mean, I think I actually posted an answer to that, and I would say it would either be Silent Hill 1, or I think I gave Dead Space a shout out as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, overall, it's Silent Hill 1. Silent Hill 2 is an amazing game as far as storyline perspective goes, but Silent Hill 1 is terrifying. The school and the hospital have just ruined I would never go to those types of places at night. I would never do it. And I can thank that game for that. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay, everybody actually already wrote on here. So, okay, Peter said Amnesia.
That's
Lee
right,
said
but two.
Silent Hill 2, followed by Dead Space and Penumbra Overture. Joe said Eternal Darkness. Yeah, Ryan, you said Amnesia. Jacob said Dead Space. Dakota said Soma. Eric, goddamn, Paul, stop. Eric said Clock Tower. Got another Dead Space from Melissa. Connor said Luigi's Mansion. Kelsey
It's a good one.
said PT. And Evan said Fear/Fear 2 or Silent Hill 3. And Emily wants to play gets an honorable mention.
You put 4 answers to the question.
Yeah, basically.
Alright.
So yeah, basically, general consensus is Amnesia, Dead Space, Silent Hill, any of them apparently.
I'm surprised nobody put Slender. Slender scared the living crud out of me.
Really?
Slenderman?
Oh, God, yeah.
I surprisingly never got into Slender just because of all the hype behind it. And I couldn't. I mean, when it generally. I mean, I know it's based on a creepypasta or whatever, but I don't know. I played the demo to one of them.
I didn't think it was scary at all. I had
The
like
original one or the console
Yeah,
one?
I don't
The
know
original
which
one on PC
one
is
is which.
scary.
There's one on Android that's like virtual reality type thing where you have to like move your phone around and it makes you walk. And I just kept
That's
passing
weird.
him and I was like, oh crap, and I just kept walking right past him and nothing really happened.
I don't know. The PC original Steam one scared the living bejesus out of me.
See, there's a game based on oh god, what is it called? The I can't remember what it's called. There's a creepypasta thing, and it's like these files about these weird. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Basically, there's this game where you're walking down a staircase, and I can't talk about it because I can't remember what the thing is called.
I don't know.
Metal Gear Solid.
No, there's this like it's like a
There's a lot of staircase walking in there.
No.
Yeah.
I think the question that I wanted to do was, what's your favorite... No, not your favorite. The hardest game you've ever played and the hardest game you've ever beat. It could be the same.
Yeah, it's
answer
gonna be the same, at least for me.
Yeah. Dark Souls.
Yeah,
Dark Souls 2.
it's gonna have to be
Yeah.
the first Dark Souls. It's the hardest game I've ever played and the hardest game I ever beat. Although I put Witcher 3 on max difficulty and I could not beat that at all. So maybe Witcher 3 on max difficulty is harder than Dark Souls, but I did beat Dark Souls.
Nick?
Alright, I would say mine is definitely either between the first Dark Souls or any of the Resident Evil games on incredibly, like, any of the hard difficulties. Those games, Resident Evil 0 specifically comes to mind. That game is not easy on hard. 2
That was
bites
really
from
hard.
a zombie,
Yeah.
you're dead.
Yeah.
Absolutely dead.
So, playing Demon's Souls for the first time, the first boss that I beat gave me a ton of souls, which is cool, and then I just kept going.
Ooh.
And then I got killed, and then I'm like, well, that sucks. Let me go, and then I got killed again.
Yeah.
And then I'm
doesn't
like,
explain
okay, that
it.
sucks, but let me go find my souls, though, because I need them. I didn't know that's how it worked.
Yep. No, it doesn't. You learn the
Touche.
hard way.
But I learned the hard way instead of somebody telling me,
Well,
hey. So, there you go.
I think we're just at like opposite ends of the spectrum, and we're not gonna meet in the middle.
My choice is going to be probably the original Ghosts and Goblins on the NES. I mean, it's known as one of the hardest games of all time. A lot of the NES, like the Nintendo games were. But,
Yeah, Nintendo hard is a thing for a reason.
no, that game is no joke.
No, neither is Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
So-
Not at all. Because you
Yeah,
beat
but
it,
I
and it's
think
just like you didn't beat it really. Do it again.
But I think the first one, Ghosts and Goblins on the NES, is, I think, more difficult. Because you don't... In Super Ghosts and Goals, you can shoot up, and you can do a few more things that make the game a little bit easier.
Yes.
It's not easy by any means of the word, but Ghosts and Goblins, not only is that the hardest game that I've played, it's the hardest game that I beat. And I did beat it twice, because you beat the game, and then it tells you, no, you have to beat it again to get the secret, the real ending.
Yeah, you gotta have that ring or some sort of upgrade. Super Ghouls does something similar to that, and you have to beat the whole game without, like, losing that upgrade.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Which is... It's bullshit. But I had to do it, and I did do it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a feat that I wish it would have given me some kind of achievement or trophy.
I love achievements.
But
That's
there
what
were,
they're for.
But there were none. To me, yeah, in my my point of view, achievements and trophies, they're not just for you to add up your count and the game telling you got something. No, it's like, it is literally a trophy. You can show people, look, I beat Dark Souls on the hardest difficulty.
That's one of the best
there
things.
It is. Okay, did you do that? Yeah, it's not like, even with like achievements, people were used to say that, well, I mean, what's the point? Yeah, you're adding up your achievement points. And to me, it wasn't about just getting points. I wouldn't play a game just to get points.
No, it's for that bragging rights step that you could prove. It's the literal manifestation of, hey man, you'll never believe what I just did, but you can just check my profile and see that I just did that. That's why I really like them.
Yeah,
yes,
like the
Pixar didn't happen exactly.
Yeah, yeah, like getting Gears of War, like every single achievement, and knowing that one of those achievements takes like, I don't know, like 500 hours to like farm on a multiplayer level. It's just that difficult, and I have it. And the good thing about it is it's gonna be there forever. It's gonna be in a cloud. It's gonna be in the online forever, so they can always see that. But I wish I had something like that for Ghosts and Goblins. I didn't take a picture or anything, but I'm telling you guys, I did beat it twice.
I would say one of my proudest achievements, which is a different question, would be beating the original Resident Evil, or not the original, but the remake with just a knife, because that's not easy.
Oh, there's an achievement for that.
Yeah, there is.
There's a trophy
it's
for that.
CQC for the win, I think, in the remake. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. What's everybody working on? Real quick plugs. Nick, you go first.
All right. Well, I should tomorrow should be drafting a music spotlight for Silent Hill 2. And I also have a 7 games with immersive atmosphere that should be out sometime this week.
Brian.
Well, I'm Ryan Dark Souls 3 review. I'm also going to be playing the new Witcher DLC, Blood and Wine, and reviewing that. And then working with Nick here on the top 10 or 10 tips for handling the Dark Souls franchise.
All right, and I am reviewing Star Fox Zero, which should be coming out soon. As soon as I get, as soon as I can stop playing Demon Souls, I can kind of finish that review, but that's the only reason it hasn't been out yet. I didn't think of a closing song. I want Nick and Ryan to fight over what the ending song should be.
Is it about drunk people or what?
Or Dark Souls, or Mega Man, I don't know, whatever you want.
I don't know. Nick, Dark Souls has some pretty epic soundtracks. Oh my god.
Alright, well, if we're going to go for something from Mega Man, we should do, Mega Man 2, Wily's Castle.
Yeah, look at Gwen's song, Nick. It's amazing. Yeah, that's fine.
Alright, song, I'm just going to pick something out of Dark Souls. It's getting late and we got to go.
Dark Souls, you got to do the Gwen one is depressing, but it fits the theme of the mood of the game. And Ornstein and Small soundtrack is really good.
All right.
One of those two is my recommendation.
All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.